want to know general about GMO, because it is a new discussion in Kenya now. So please tell us what this GMO entails.
Thank you very much, Moya. My name is Dr. Roy Mugiira. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the National Safety Authority. Okay. This authority is established by the Safety Act to regulate the conduct of business generally in the area of genetically modified organisms, to specifically assure safety of genetically modified organisms to human health, to animal health, and also to the environment. The Biosafety Act was also developed in pursuit of an international convention called the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety, which is also anchored in the Convention on Biological Diversity. So you can see it is an international convention that has brought forth the act that eventually created NBA to regulate this space. But to come back to your question on what is this all about, the picture out there is that there is one big thing out there called GMO, which is about to come into Kenya, coming properly from the bushes and scaring people, which is not the case. I will give an example so that you can understand it better. And the classic example that I give is the maize that we are about to release for multiplication of seed, called BT maize. Now, in the earlier years, post 80s and 70s, we used to breed plants so that we can get characters that we want in the next generation. For example, we would cross early maturing maize with a high yielding maize, with the hope that the offspring will carry the characteristics of early maturing and also the characteristics of high yielding. Now, usually that takes a long time, and it is also like try and error. So these may or may not come, and you keep checking many times to confirm that the offspring carries the right characteristics. It also carries some that you didn't want. So eventually you have to clean to be sure that it didn't carry the negative ones. Now, in the early 90s and late 80s, scientists were able to identify genes that make this plant high yielding and this other one early maturing. So what they do, or they were able to do then, was to cut the gene from this plant that makes it high yielding and paste it on this other one that is early maturing to create early maturing plus high yielding character. So that is what is called modern biotechnology. It went even a step further. You see, when you are crossing, you can only cross maize and maize. But it became possible now to move genes from unrelated organisms. So you pick from a bacteria and put it in maize. Now, that which you have created, which carries a gene from somewhere else, is what is called genetically modified organism. Organism is anything living. So if it is maize, it is genetically modified maize. If it is cotton, it is genetically modified cotton. So in the international world, when this became possible, questions came up that are being asked even today. Is it safe? Because it is carrying something from somewhere else. Now, is it even right? Social sciences and so on come in and ask those questions. Even religious groups ask, is this now not interfering with God's creation, the way He created it? Because you're moving something from one to another. And therefore a conversation ensued. It was discussed under the auspices of the of the Convention on Biological Diversity, and then international community developed the protocol that I'm referring to as the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety. What this requires state parties, and Kenya was the first to sign in 2002, is each state party must set in motion the law, the institution, and the policy that will govern this new science. Kenya, for example, we did the policy in 2006, we did the law in 2009, and we established this authority in 2010, thereabout. So that is therefore what is described as GMO, and that is where we come into as true safety. So there is no one big thing out there called GMO. It is this maize that has been enhanced to resist the mdudu. Now to come even closer to describe it even better, when you're growing maize, there is a worm that destroys maize called the maize stalk borer. It enters the maize through the tassel and causes a lot of damage. Our grandparents would scoop some soil and put it on the funnel of the maize, and that helped. So you find that the worm dies inside. So the scientist now asked, what is in the soil that is killing the worm? And originally it was thought is a result of suffocation. You know, the way the mdudu has been made not to have any hewa, and therefore it suffocates and dies. Then it was established this is not just suffocation. So scientists were able to identify a bacteria in the soil that makes a protein which is the one that is responsible for the death of the worms. That bacteria is called Bacillus thuringiensis, and therefore the name BT. So they therefore cultured the bacteria, grew enough of it, dried it up, and converted it into a biocontrol, so that you sprinkle that biocontrol and you control the pest. When this advancement in science became possible, that now we can move the gene from the bacteria to the maize, they went and cut the gene that makes that protein from the bacteria and pasted it on the maize, so that this maize can now produce that protein itself and therefore defend itself against this mdudu directly. Now this is the maize that is called genetically modified maize. And this is just one example. We can the scientists have modified the same maize using another sources of genes to make it resist drought. We have also made it to resist certain diseases and even to resist herbicide application, so that you can spray your farm indiscriminately. The weeds die, but your maize remain intact. So there are many. That is only one example. The same has been applied in cotton, which now we have in Kenya, which we approved and it is now in farmers. Putting the same BT gene, remember Bacillus thuringiensis, yes, the gene onto the cotton to make the cotton resist the cotton bollworm. And therefore, when we have that, that is what is now GMO. Now the questions of safety come in, questions that I'll be happy to answer, and also the questions of can this grow with others in the field there. And that is where we come in now to assure safety of this technology.
So are there regulations to ensure that the crops are safe, the food from GMO are safe?
Yes. When we carry out assessment of safety, like I said, that we do it on a case-by-case basis. So there is no one blanket statement that all GMOs are safe or all GMOs are unsafe. We look at that maize, for example. And when we do, we first of all conduct what is called substantial equivalence. We take the GM maize, the non-GM maize, and conduct all chemical composition of this and chemical composition of its non-GM counterpart. Then we compare. Of course, they can't be 100% the same, but substantially. Even two human beings can't be exactly the same. Even two maize grains from the same cob can't be exactly the same, but there is some level of acceptance that if it is this level of percentage, then we say it is substantially equivalent. Okay? The only difference is the protein that is in the GM maize. See? Because this one doesn't have. This one has the protein from the bacteria. So the next step, we pick this protein. All proteins that are allergenic, that cause allergy, are known. Their sequences have been sequenced and deposited in an international database. So what we do, this protein is sequenced,